As I am now living here in the hills.
Living here in the hills? Yes. I reckon you could be a mighty fine lady.
A mighty fine lady.
A mighty fine lady.
Hey, it's Sue.
And Megan in the restricted section.
And today we're going to do our 2017 Book Riot Read Harder Challenge Wrap Up.
Yes.
That was a lot of words.
That's a lot of words. Sue completed her Read Harder challenge.
I did, barely.
I did not. So, there's that. We're also going to be drinking
this Mother's Backyard beer, and it's a coconut extra stout.
Yes.
And Mother's is a local brewery here in Springfield,
Spring Vegas,
Missouri.
Missouri. Cheers.
Cheers.
Spilling it.
Oh. It's okay. I don't love it.
It's alright.
It's like, nothing beats White River's coconut
Their
porter for
coconut's
me.
the best one.
Every coconut beer I've tasted has just been a disappointment compared to that one.
Yeah.
But this one's not bad.
It's fine.
It's okay. Alright, so we're just going to go through and say the challenge, say what we read for it, and say what we rated it
Deal.
on Goodreads. Because there's 24 challenges, so we're not going to go into
every single one
descriptions, and we've probably talked about all of these books on our channel
at
in
one
the past.
point. Yes.
But if you want to know more about them, just, ask us in the comments and we'll let you know.
Yeah.
The first challenge was to read a book about sports.
I did not complete this challenge.
And for this one, I read Seabiscuit, An American Legend by Laura Hillenbrand, which deals with horse racing, which is a sport, I think.
It is a sport.
And I gave it 4 stars.
The next challenge is read a debut novel.
And I read Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk, and I gave it 4 stars, but I feel like that was kind of generous. Maybe like a 3.5 would be more accurate.
And I read The Keeper of Lost Things by Ruth Hogan, and I gave it 4 stars.
And the next challenge was to read a book about books.
And I did not complete this challenge.
And I read The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly, and I gave it 3 stars.
The next challenge is read a book set in Central or South America written by a Central or South American author.
And I read Fever Dream by Samantha Sweblin, who is Argentinian, and I believe this book is set in Argentina. It's definitely set in South America somewhere. And I gave it 3.5 stars.
The next challenge is read a book by an immigrant or with a central immigration narrative.
And I believe we both read Exit West by Mohsin Hamid.
And I think we both gave it 4 stars.
Yeah. Which, again, I feel for me was maybe a bit generous, but...
I really liked it.
I liked it, but I don't know. There was just something about it that didn't really connect with me, but anyway.
I dug it.
Next challenge was read an all-ages comic.
I did not complete this challenge.
And I read El Defo by SueCee Bell, and I gave it 4 stars.
The next challenge was read a book published between 1900 and 1950.
And I read The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, and I gave it 5 stars.
And I read Darkness at Noon by Arthur Ketzler, and I gave it 3 stars.
And the next challenge was to read a travel memoir.
And I did not complete this challenge.
And I read Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Berendt, and I gave it 4 stars.
The next challenge was to read a book you've read before.
And I read The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien and gave it 4.5 stars.
And I read The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood and gave it 5 stars.
And the next challenge was to read a book that is set within 100 miles of your location.
And I read Winter's Bone by Daniel Woodrell, and I gave it 4 stars.
And I read The Shepherd of the Hills by Harold Bell Wright, and I gave it 3.25 stars.
0.25,
yes.
The next one is to read a book that is set more than 5,000 miles from your location.
And I read The Diving Pool by Yoko Ogawa and gave it 3 stars.
And I read In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park, and I gave it 4 stars.
And the next challenge was to read a fantasy novel.
I read Enter Wild Time by Paul Majors and gave it 2 stars.
And I read A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin and gave it 3 stars.
The next challenge is to read a nonfiction book about technology.
I read The Brain Electric, the dramatic high-tech race to merge minds and machines.
Yes.
By Malcolm Gay. And I gave it 4 stars.
And I did not complete that challenge.
And the next challenge was to read a book about war.
And I read Blackout by Connie Willis. And I gave it 3 stars, but I feel like I probably would have given it 4. Because I did really like that book. So I think probably 4 stars.
And I read The Country of Ice Cream Star by Sandra Newman, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Can I have this, please?
The next one is to read a YA or middle grade novel by an author who identifies as LGBTQ+.
And we both read
If I Were Your Girl.
If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. And I gave it 3.5 stars.
And I gave it 4 stars.
And the next challenge was to read a book that has been banned or frequently challenged in your country.
And for this, I read Never Let Me Go by Katsuo Ishiguro.
Nice. I think that was good.
Ha!
Unless I've been pronouncing it wrong.
I tried really hard, and I gave that 4 stars.
And I read The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and I gave it 3.5 stars.
And the next one is to read a classic by an author of color.
And I read The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas, who I learned was a person of color this year. And I gave it 4 stars.
I did not complete this challenge, although I feel like perhaps, I think Beloved is a modern classic.
Yeah.
And so perhaps you could count that.
Perhaps, yeah.
But I'm going to say I did not complete this challenge.
The next challenge was to read a superhero comic with a female lead.
I did not complete this challenge.
And I read Ms. Marvel Volume 1, No Normal, and I gave it 4 stars, although that was maybe a little generous. I did enjoy it, but I will say that I really have no desire to continue on with the series.
Yeah.
So, maybe more like a 3.5 or 3 stars.
Read a book in which a character of color goes on a spiritual journey.
And I think, did we both do Beloved
we
for
did.
this one? Yes,
By
Beloved
Toni
by Toni Morrison. I gave it 5 stars.
I also gave it 5 stars. It was amazing.
So good.
Amazing.
Next was read an LGBTQ plus romance novel.
I also counted If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo for this. I felt like there's a strong element of romance in it.
There is.
So, again, I gave it 4 stars.
And I read Seasons of Love by Harper Bliss and gave it 2.5 stars. And that is so good.
And that's so good. Read a book published by a micropress.
I read Animal Tales by Pencil Box Press, and I gave it 3.5 stars.
And I did not complete this challenge.
Next was read a collection of stories by a woman.
I read Bloodchild by Octavia Butler, and I gave it 4 stars.
And I read Difficult Women by Roxane Gay and gave it 4 stars.
Next is read a collection of poetry in translation on a theme other than love.
And we both read I Am the Beggar of the World, Land Days from Contemporary Afghanistan, which was edited by Elizabeth somebody.
Elizabeth.
But I gave it 4 stars.
So did I. I thought it was really cool. And read a book wherein all point of view characters are people of color.
And I read The Kite Runner by Colette Hassini, and I gave it 2 stars, which was perhaps a bit generous.
Because you really didn't like it.
Because I really disliked it.
You really don't like it.
But...
And I read The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead and gave it 4 stars. And I feel like there was a lot about that book that I probably did not understand. But I still thought it was brilliant, and I really liked it.
So that's it. That's all the books we read for the Read Harder Challenge. And yeah, this beer is like...
It's okay.
It's not bad, but I don't know. I just feel like every other coconut beer I've had, other than the White River one, just tastes kind of like fake coconut to me.
Yeah, this one is just like really strong, like super strong and fake.
Yeah, it's not the strongest I've had, for sure.
Whew, no, but it's not.
It's better than like I don't like the Death by Coconut by, Oscar Blues, which Oscar Blues is a really good
It's a
brewery,
really great
but
brewing company.
I don't like that beer. It's too coconutty, and again, it just like tastes kind of fake to me.
Yeah.
And I don't like that core beer one we had.
No.
It was way stronger on the coconut than this one is. What's funny is that Jeremiah tried this last night, and he said he didn't even taste the coconut.
Really?
Also, he'd already had a lot of beers.
Well, that's probably.
But my boyfriend hates coconut. Like a lot. The only reason he tasted it was so that he could check into it on Untappd.
Yeah, I don't really care for this.
I don't think it's bad, but you just can't beat the coconut rye porter from White River for me.
Yeah, it's the best
that stuff
coconut
is
beer.
Fucking delicious. I love it.
Delicious.
Yeah, so that's it. If you participated in the Read Harder Challenge, let us know how you did. I'm really excited for next year's challenge.
Oh my gosh.
We're probably going to film a TBR for that pretty soon, a tentative TBR. But I like the 2018 challenge better.
I do too.
Because I think it's more, kind of more accessible. This one had some like weirdly specific challenges that I think were a little difficult
specific
to find books for, and especially to find books, like if you're someone who like can't or doesn't want to purchase books.
Right. It's because you don't know until after you've read it if it meets the challenge.
Some of them, yeah. So I think next year's challenge is going to be like a little bit, still a challenge, but like a little
easier.
Easier to find books for, at the library or,
Yeah. We'll have to end soon because I think I'm almost out of space on my card.
So there'll be some links below where you can find us other places on the internet.
And if you're not already subscribed, please do.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.